So, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today. So, since there are two new people here, not new, but yeah, joining live for the first time. So, I'll just shortly share what are these sessions about. So, in Buddhism, we have a word called Bodhisattva, the concept of Bodhisattva, where it is like in one way we can talk it in this way that usually in life we are always wanting to fulfill ourselves. I this is what I want, this is what I don't want, this is how I like, this is how I don't like. But the path of Bodhisattva is he or she is ready to keep his own wishes and wants aside, knowing that of course they can never be fulfilled, and even if we get fulfillment, we it's a temporary something, and then again it's gone. The sense of lack is back. So once this understanding is there, we are ready to put our own unfulfilled desires and expectations at bay and not run in life after them. Rather, we offer our life to walk the path of self realization or enlightenment so that we can benefit all the beings. So that's the way of the Bodhisattva, that we are not living this life for our own petty self, but want to offer our life and also to achieve enlightenment, not for the sake of oneself. Enlightenment means liberation from the ego, liberation from this limited, suffocating self, not for our own self, but so that we can be of benefit to others. So, on this, there have been very many masters who have uh, given discourses, teachings. So, what we study here is I'll just put it on screen. So, we start with the Bodhisattva vows. Just a second. So, I'll put in front the lines that we recite or remind ourselves every time we have the session. And these are also the lines or a kind of a sankalpa that His Holiness Dalai Lama every morning he wakes up and takes these vows. So I usually request one of us to read, or one by one we can all like go through it. Since we are not many people, that's what we can do also. So, and just reading them out and reminding ourselves why are we walking on the path, it helps to set our intention right. Why are we walking this path at all? Why are we, what is the main purpose of being human beings? So, setting our intention right, basically. So, if some of us are ready, let us go ahead. So, we
I
will,
can read.
yes, Pratima, please go ahead.
Okay. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles, and for the boundless multitudes of living beings. May I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened. It's so beautiful.
Absolutely, yes. So let us, just like Pratima read for herself and for all of us, it's good to go over these lines again because they are a very beautiful reminder. And imagine that in the middle of some chaotic situation you're having, suddenly one of these lines come to you. So it really changes the intention from within. So Jayashree, Shweta, Meenakshi is still connecting. So one by one, let us go through it just like Pratima did.
Yeah, I'll read. May I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles. And for the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened. So beautiful. Like when you read it, you feel some expansion, na? Like you really feel so nice that you're praying for this. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. One comes out of the limiting, suffocating self.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like you, like from top to bottom, you are totally offering yourself to the entire. Uh, I can't even say word because it will be limiting then.
Yeah, yeah, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's very
Yes.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah. Jayashree, would you like to go ahead next?
Yeah, sure. May I be guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles, and for the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Seren, would you like to just read them out for all of us and
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah, I need to read the same lines, right?
Yeah, we are just like doing it
Okay.
more often so that it goes
Oh,
inside us, you know.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, you're right. Okay. Um, may I be a guard for those who need protection, a guide for those on the path, a boat, a raft, a bridge for those who wish to cross the flood. May I be a lamp in the darkness, a resting place for the weary, a healing medicine for all who are sick, a vase of plenty, a tree of miracles, and for the boundless multitudes of living beings, may I bring sustenance and awakening, enduring like the earth and sky, until all beings are freed from sorrow and all are awakened.
Thank you. So these are by Shanti Deva, and I'll share for those of us who have seen this for the first time. I'll share them again on the meditation group so that we have it. You know, you can keep it on your phone, or maybe I have written them down and pasted on my wall. So once in a while, you know, you can be aware of it and reorient oneself again.
Also, the Monica, the screen that you were showing, like in the beginning, those
Yes,
also,
yes,
like those messages also you can share with me.
yes. I will do that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So that screen that I was sharing, I'm just putting it forward. That is what we do every Thursday. So that's Lord Atisha, his verses on training the mind. And many masters have given their own elaborations on these verses, because they say that even half of a verse, if you practice in this life, it is more than enough uh, to walk towards enlightenment. So, you know, that is the power of each verse, and even half of a verse, they say. So, hi Krish.
Hello, namaste.
So we have reflected upon about 8 verses, and today we are going to almost touch towards the end of this verse number 8. The supreme sign of accomplishment is a continuous decrease of wishes and wants. And then we'll proceed towards the next one. The supreme generosity is non-attachment. So again, this also, it may appear repetitive to some of us, but it's repetition is what makes us perfect, even if when we are learning an instrument or anything. So let us go over these verses again. So I usually request like one of you can read this much, and then another half, then another half. So let's see. So if anyone is ready,
Yeah, I can read.
yeah, please go ahead.
The supreme understanding is to realize the meaning of selflessness. The supreme spiritual discipline is to tame one's own mind. The supreme great quality is altruism. The supreme oral instruction is to observe the mind at all times. The supreme remedy is to know that nothing has self nature. The supreme conduct is to be in disharmony with the world.
Thank you. So for those of us interested in all the previous ones, we have already discussed it, and you can find it recordings on the channel also. And there are teachings which we listen. They're already available. Everything is available online. Yeah. So anyone ready with the next one? Yes, Sai, I'm afraid your audio is not working, so I'm not sure how would you be able to read.
Can I read?
Yes, Pratima, please go ahead. Maybe Sai and yeah, Meenakshi was also unable to connect. So Sai, if you can disconnect and connect, I don't know if you can hear at all. Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Pratima.
Okay. The supreme accomplishment is a continuous decrease of disturbing emotions. The supreme sign of accomplishment is a continuous decrease of wishes and wants. The supreme generosity is non-attachment. The supreme ethical conduct is to pacify one's mind. The supreme patience is to take the lowest place. The supreme effort is letting go of activity.
Thank you, Pratima.
Would we like explain that?
Yeah. So we are going to, this is just reading for our own selves. But today we are going to take up these two verses, verse 8 and 9. So that's what we do here. We listen to a teaching on one verse and then reflect over it and share if there are reflections. So we will take them up one by one.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe one of you could just wind it up, like take all these lines together. Anyone feels ready?
Okay, so may I?
Yeah.
Yeah. The supreme concentration is not altering the mind. The supreme wisdom is to not grasp onto anything as the self. The supreme spiritual teacher is the one who exposes our hidden flaws, and the supreme instruction is the one that helps us to strike at those flaws. The supreme companions are mindfulness and alertness. The supreme inspiration is enemies, hindrances, disease, and suffering. The supreme method is to be natural. The supreme way of benefiting is to help others enter the dharma. The supreme benefit is a mind that turns towards the dharma. Yes.
Thank you so much. So today, as I was sharing earlier, we'll finish the teaching on the supreme sign of accomplishment. And last time we were talking about it, that usually whenever, in Indian tradition also, we used to talk about any realization, siddhis, powers. So we would say that if one can perform miracles, then he is a realized being, and otherwise, not really. While if we see many Buddhist teachers, Jetsunma Tenzin Palmo also, Shiorobindo, Mother, they were supremely realized beings, but they did not manifest any, miracles in front of us. And there is a reason to that, because one feels, the public uh, people like us, they become enchanted with the miracles, and we feel that, oh, this is what I should also be looking for, looking forward to. While he changes, Lord Atisha is changing this idea that we have. He says that the supreme, first of all, the supreme accomplishment, siddhi, is a continuous decrease of disturbing emotions. We all have disturbing emotions like anger, jealousy, greed, lust, pride, vanity. They all disturb us heavily. And what is the supreme siddhi? He says the supreme siddhi is a continuous decrease of all these. That because they are not true to our nature, we are able to just let them pass. We are not following their dictates. So I'm not going to go into this, because this we already covered in the previous sessions. And then he said the supreme sign of accomplishment. So first the supreme siddhi, and then the sign of a symptom of the siddhi is a continuous decrease of wishes and wants. So as we were sharing earlier, that we are wanting beings, we are always full of, this is what I want, this is what I don't like, this is what I like, full of preferences, aversions. But when one gets disenchanted from the material world and knows that no, nothing in this material existence can fulfill the place that I am looking to fulfill, then we turn within, because the supreme source is within. And then we also realize that I don't need anything from here, towards which we usually hanker. We hanker about relationships, power, money, job, name, fame, respect. So that hankering stops when one finds the supreme source within. So that's why the sign is the continuous decrease of wishes and wants, because you have touched something within which is more fulfilling than what can be provided from the material world. And that is how surrender can happen. That is how now you can say, okay, the world cannot give me anything, but since I am here, can I offer myself to the world in any which way, since all of us are very special? So whatever we have, we offer our presence to the world. And we are going to just listen to last 3-4 minutes of this one, verse 8, and then we will take up the verse 9. I'm going to play the teaching on this. If there is anything you feel like sharing, we will just raise hand or type, and I'll stop that and we can talk about it. So this will be just continuing from the last one.
If you are wanting to lead some kind of real dharmic life, some real spiritual life out in the world, not here in the ashram, to simplify the life. To simplify your lives and to cultivate contentment. Instead of thinking always what we don't have, to really focus on what we do have and be grateful and appreciative and content. Contentment nowadays in our modern society is really either ignored completely or derided, because if we're all content, we won't buy. And then they think the whole economy will collapse. So our advertising agencies are just geared to make us have all these artificial wishes and wants.
So we need to discriminate, obviously, between our needs, which are valid, and our greeds, which are endless. So as we naturally begin to find, actually, I don't really need that. Actually, I don't really want that. And lose interest in so much of what is promoted as being essential for a good life. As we begin to lose interest in that, then that shows that something else of deeper interest is taking over. So this whole question of our greed, our greedy mind, which is endless, it's like a big black hole inside, which never ever can be fulfilled by things, or to be quite honest, by people. We should enter into relationships as a whole, as an integrated human being, not out of need, not out of a sense of incompletion. When we do that, then we put an incredible burden on the other person, which is why so many relationships go sour. But if we enter into relationships from a sense of inner wholeness, then that's a very mature relationship based on mutual respect rather than grasping and attachment and despair. So this whole question of our wishes and wants seem very innocent. But the root goes down very, very deep in our psyche. And in order to really, really begin to show the fruits of our practice, we have to examine whether or not at least some of this is being gradually uncovered and uprooted. Because if we're just as greedy and grasping and selfish as ever, what's the point?
So that was verse 8, ending of the explanation of reflections on verse 8, the continuous decrease of wishes and wants. So I think it's a good way to look at our own lives individually, because when our wishes remain unfulfilled, we become annoyed, irritated, frustrated at the other person. And if we have now heard this, so I think it can be a very good point of reflection. When will we step back from those demands which are endless? So anything here? Anyone?
There was there's a very small sharing. Like when we think about offering ourselves to the world, there comes the sense of doership also, that I have to do something for the world. So it's quite later that I could catch this up, and because there was always this thing in mind that I have to do something good for the world, and this thing. So the sense of doership, and it still keeps on coming back, like so is there anything that if you want to share, I think it will be great, anything that you can share on this one.
This is our journey. So we don't have to feel ashamed if we sense a kind of a grasping something, or the sense of doership that you talked about. Something, somebody in me which is like aggressively now wanting to offer, even when we talk about surrender. This is our journey. When we talk about, for example, just coming from Mother and Sri Aurobindo, Mother talks about a story of creation, and she tells us in a very simple way, and she shares that what happened, that the divine manifested Aditi, or the divine mother, out of himself, and gave the task of creation to Mother, divine mother. The divine mother manifested further 4 powers through her, and these powers were in one way we can call them love, uh, bliss, knowledge, and truth. So it's like, you give some money to a child, and you say, okay, go get some stuff for the home. Now the child has money and freedom. So since creation is freedom, there's a lot of freedom there. The divine is infinite, and another name for divine is freedom, absolute freedom. So these 4 powers in freedom, their own freedom, they upturned, like they became their own masters and separated, so called, in, if we can just word play, they separated from the divine source, and they became authority in themselves. And when they upturned, truth became falsehood, bliss became suffering. That's why we have suffering in human life. That's why we have falsehood. Ego is biggest falsehood. Love became hate, upturned. Death, life became death. So immortality became mortality, and light became darkness. So, and knowledge became, I'm just kind of maybe synonymizing it too much, but understand the concept, and then knowledge became, absolute knowledge became ignorance. So all of us are ignorant of our true nature. We don't know how powerful, how full of expansiveness and divine we are. We have no clue. And that is why we are here in these sessions. That is why we are full of imperfections, and we remind ourselves, since there is forgetfulness. So when you say that what to do about this grasping self, or even that sense of doership which arises, Mother says, just become conscious of it. So the moment I become conscious, oh look, the grasping self or the aggressiveness is arising again, you say, haven't I tasted you enough? I have. And now enough. Now I can step back. So this is how we step back from the sense of doership, by becoming conscious of the doership and telling ourselves that haven't we had enough? All of us who are sitting here today, enough age or years spent in the sense of doership and reflecting over it. And now it's time for us, all of us, to become conscious while it is arising, like a ripple of conscious, doership is arising, and you becoming conscious, oh, here it arises. And you say, look at it, and you say, thank you for serving me so long, and I don't want to follow your dictates anymore. So you don't follow the dictates, whatever it tells you to do. And that is how slowly we step back from the doership. It will keep arising. Why it will keep arising? Because it's the ignorance is deep rooted. So the sense of doership, the sense of ego consciousness, me as a separate self and others, somebody else, it will keep on arising. And that is why the adventure of this progressive work that we do. Otherwise everything is perfect. What's the fun? If there is darkness, then the true adventurer moves towards light from the darkness, and that is the fun for the adventurer. So like nowadays scientists are going into outer space, to Pluto, to Sun, to Mars, unimagined places. Why? Because, and there is joy and adventure in it, spirit of adventure, because they are uncharted territories. They are dark still, and we are expanding into that. So it brings us a lot of joy. Just like that, when we talk about our darkness, when we transmute our darkness to light, it brings us joy. And joy or delight is the basis of this existence. They say Satchid Ananda, delight is the basis of existence. So that's why we are all on a progressive journey. Nobody is born perfect, and yet we are all perfect parallelly. Inwardly, we all have the divine nature, the Buddha nature, which we have to reclaim, which slowly we have to reclaim and let go of the ego patterns. So yeah, don't bother about it too much. When it arises, look at it, tell it, thank you so much for serving me, and now time for me to move ahead. Something like that.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on that comment, if possible. You said about if there was only light, it would just be nothing to contrast it with. And you look at the films that we watch, we want the thriller, we want the suspense, we want the drama, and movies have a plot. If it was just a happy plot throughout, we wouldn't enjoy it. So, we need the villain and the hero, the hero's journey. But goodness always seems to prevail in the end. But yeah, it's very true.
Absolutely, and that's why, in other words, they call it Leela, the play. Because once we have this understanding, even theoretically a bit of understanding is there, then we see, oh, it's play, I don't have to get so disappointed, So then we can have a little fun and not take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, and this is the nature of duality, isn't it? You're like, for every hero requires a villain. So, and that's why non-duality is the only way out of this Leela. But yeah, no, it's to understand this is the nature of the game.
Yeah. And when we realize this, when we understand it, that it's actually a play, and each person, even so-called enemy in my life or a difficult person in life, he's actually performing a role so that I can develop some, qualities in myself. So if a person is more annoying, I develop patience. So these are all like characters put in front so that we can have the joy of progress. And then we can be grateful even towards those difficult persons which are there, placed very meticulously in our lives. Yeah. Yes, Shweta, you wanted to share something?
No, actually, not much. I was just stuck with this word sentence. And delight is the basis of our existence. So, yeah. So I know that theoretically, or understand it, but it's not always the realization. Somehow, like especially when I am observing myself every day in the morning. So when I get up, there's a lot of gratitude. There is peace, but I I don't know what delight wala agar I don't know if it's uh, uh, equal to gratitude and peace, or delight is like how vital, like it seems like part of vital, like you were very delighted. So वो वाली energy delightful होता है, through the day there are moments when you feel delightful, but when uh, like I'm checking myself all the time agar, तो वो what is the meaning of being delightful? Because if it is like feeling like पता नहीं like oh I'm so delightful, like is it that? Because वो मुझे नहीं पूरा टाइम नहीं feel होता, so I keep wondering कि what is it like,
Yeah, I think पूरा टाइम फील होगा तो आपका चेकअप कराना पड़ेगा. Yeah.
But that word is like very confusing, no? Or
Yeah.
it can make you question. Yeah.
Yes. So many masters, many teachers have commented over this. I can share a few links, on this. It's good to understand and reflect over it. So basically, in simple terminology for our day-to-day life, yeah. In simple terminology, first of all, know that we have a image of delight. All of us have an image of delight. That may not be delight. So just hold it very lightly. All the images that come in our mind when we use the word delight is the basis of existence. So then images come up. And if those images are not happening in my life, I would feel that, oh, delight is missing. So first of all, just to be wary, to hold those images in the mind very lightly, because images are not delight. Delight is delight and images are images. First that. Secondly, basically day-to-day life mein how we talk about is that, see, what do we want to do? We want to do what brings us joy. Why do we meet friends? Because meeting friends brings us joy. Why do we have tea, for example, those of us who like tea? Because I take delight in having tea. Now imagine that the same tea is in front of you, and one day you are maybe lost somewhere, or not in the right place inside, and the same tea stops to give you delight. So it was not the object that was able to actually provide you the delight. It was the joy that you found in certain inward state, and when you were either with a friend or the object of attention. And that is why, for example, when we fall in depression, when we fall in depression, we are not able to find joy in life. So there is a disconnect from our true source. And those of us who have relatively contentful and joyful lives, they would be definitely, some or the other part of their life, they will be following something that brings them joy. So for example, if serving people on streets brings me joy, that brings me delight, so I'll follow that joy. If working with children brings me joy, I follow that joy, I follow that, it brings me contentment and brings me delight. So it's basically just talking about our day-to-day lives, that even in our day-to-day lives, we are actually seeking delight. Now that's another thing, that the same delight that we found in one person, one relationship, since the nature of that relationship is so limited and we are so suffocated in these limited phases, it very soon turns something else, and I stop to have delight in the same relationship. That is what happens with most of us. And then we have a lot of unease, and we don't like to be in that relationship. Maybe we want to change partners, and something is missing, for example. So this is what for our day-to-day purpose, we can say that we are all seeking delight. Now in our forgetfulness, we don't know where the true delight lies. So just like Kabir's couplet, where he says that Kasturi deer, a deer who has fragrance in its navel, he is looking for the fragrance outside. So he knows that the delight exists, and a delight which is never ending, lasting delight, but he doesn't know where to look. So he goes outward, and when we talk about outward, it's like seeking through senses, relationship, people, life situation, out situation, work, name, fame, money, respect, all this is outward, through our senses. So we are wanting it there, and we don't find it. Whatever we find, it doesn't last. But what we truly in our forgetfulness are seeking is that true infinite delight which lies in the core of our being. So that's why, and in one manner we can talk about this, that's why delight is the basis of existence. If there were no delight, there would be no creation actually. And again, we can retrace back our steps, talk about it another manner, that when the divine manifested out Prakriti from himself, like Ishvara Shakti, so when they joined together, so the two who are one, from one two came, and now the two are enjoying the otherness, and in this enjoyment of the otherness there is delight and there is creation. So again, as I said, the masters and teachers have said it in many ways which are very beautiful to reflect upon, read and understand. But for day-to-day purpose, this is how I would take it, so that keeping it practical and simple and not getting too much lost in the philosophization, which is good for for those of us who may enjoy it. Yeah, again, enjoy it, so the joy comes here also. And if, for example, we are having this session today, one day we realize that, oh, these sessions have stopped giving me joy, then you would follow something else. So we are all seeking delight, but the true delight lies in the core of our being, which we have to ultimately turn to. So I don't know if this would kind of in some way hint about what you were asking, Shweta.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, anything else, anyone here? Before we move on to the next verse.
I
Okay.
think Sai has raised hand. I don't know.
Sorry? Yeah, Sai has raised hand, but Sai's audio is not connected, so we can't hear.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to again then move on to the next one. Verse 9.
So, along with that, the Supreme, now he's going into what are called the six paramita. Paramita are, it means to go beyond. And there are these six paramita, which are regarded as the qualities needed to be cultivated in order to attain Buddhahood. It's not just meditation. Many qualities, of course, are needed for the spiritual life, but from those, these six were extracted. And the first is generosity. Generosity or giving is a very important quality. Normally, we like to accumulate. So therefore, it's very important to go in the other direction towards open-handedness, open-heartedness, and sharing, as you all know. When I live in India, and not so far from us is a very small little ashram made of mud brick. And there lived there, he has passed away now, but at that time there lived there this old Swami who actually was from Kerala and Tamil Nadu. He was from Tamil Nadu. He was a direct disciple of Ramana Maharshi when he was young. But he himself was much more of a bhakta. He was very devotional, very, very sweet man. His name was Ramananda. And he was, he lived very, very simply, but he had a number of chela, a number of students from the Punjab who were quite wealthy. And in those days, not much was imported into India of foreign goods. So anything which people would bring from abroad was considered very, very precious. And so his students would bring him all these nice things from abroad and from elsewhere, and to present to him. And he would look at it, and he would be so pleased, and he would examine it and look at it and show his friends, and he would be so happy to have it, and so grateful. And then you could see in his mind was thinking, wow, this is lovely. Who can I give it to? Who would like it? And next thing he had said, here, you come. Would you like this? This is for you. And so it was like his fingers weren't sticky. Nothing stuck there. They just slid off. He took it. He loved it. It wasn't he just said, well, I am beyond these things. Don't bring me these trifles. When people gave him something, he was delighted. But his delight was also in knowing that somebody else would enjoy that. He didn't need it. So that quality of open-hearted generosity is a very, very beautiful quality also for dissolving our ego. Because the ego says more, more, more. And this ability to let go. Actually, if I had to say, in Buddhism there was a mantra, I would say it's not Om Mani Padme Hum, it's let go, let go, let go. Om, let go, Hum Pe. Because our nature is to cling. We are not really conscious of that until we try to let go. So therefore the Buddha made it easy for us by starting with the quality of generosity, of training ourselves to let go, to share with others, not just things, but our time, our help. All of you karma yogis, you are practicing generosity because you are giving your time, you are giving your skills for the sake of others. And this is a very, very important quality of the heart and the hands. To be generous. Even if we cannot be too ethical, even if we're hopeless at meditation, even if our wisdom is this big, we can be kind. We can be generous. The Dalai Lama often says, my religion is kindness. And when one meets him, one sees that. When only he has, his eyes just beam kindness. And this kindness comes along with this open, generous heart. The generous heart leads to generous hands. So this is a very important quality on the spiritual path. The second part, I am trying to...
Yeah, so anything anyone would like to share on this? The supreme generosity is non-attachment. You let go. I think Mother, Sri Aurobindo and Mother talk about that we are thinking most of the times in our lives of our desiring and clingy self as our true soul. So they talk about double soul in man. That's how they name it. And they say that this, all these hopes and endless desires in us, they belong to the desire soul. You know, when Kabir talks about Maya Marina Manmara, Marmar Gaye Sharir, Asha Trishna Na Mari, Keh Gaye Das Kabir. So he says, you think that after you drop the body dead, you will be gone. But your mind doesn't die, your delusions don't die. And if you really have to die, then you have to die to your hopes, demands, and expectations and endless desires that you have. So when we let go of whatever we are sticking to, whether it's our opinions about people, about life, opinions about my own self, images about my past, future, all the ideas in the head, people in life to whom I cling to, my possessions, that I cling to. So if we take care of this clinging that we do daily, like a real, almost like a habit that we have, then the moment we begin to step back from that clinging, that's where we reclaim our true individuality, or in Mother's words, it is reclaim our true soul consciousness. Because we are not that desirey and clingy self that we assume ourselves to be. No wonder that we always remain unhappy there. We are not that. So this is the journey that has to be walked upon in this life. Recognizing the desirey and clingy self, and to let go and move on from that. Enough. Yes, Krish.
Yeah, I was going to say that let go is beautiful, because it reminded me of for some reason it evokes the story of Guru Nanak Dev Ji when he became enlightened, and the first thing he said there is no Muslim, there is no Hindu. So it clearly meant let go of the labels as well, even when she said about Buddhism, but you've got to let go of the idea of even being Buddhist, because that's still ignorance. Like, the truth is I am that I am, but all the labels that's very tough for people to let go of, because people don't want to lose a sense of identity, but that has to be surrendered as well. So labels are a form of bondage, ultimately. All labels.
Yeah, absolutely. Once I heard this story, there was a sadhu visiting Sri Aurobindo ashram. It's a true story here in Delhi, Sri Aurobindo ashram, Delhi branch, I guess. And this sadhu was along with his disciples, 2-3 disciples. And he had taken a sankalpa of not putting his feet directly on the ground, something like that. So at every step that he would take, his disciples would come and spread something like, or clean something from his way, so that he doesn't step on any, I don't know, creature or something like that. I'm forgetting what was the idea. But then somebody asked him that you practice detachment, and he said, whatever, I try to, or maybe I'm doing it. But then the person who himself was a spiritual seeker, he said that, but I see that you are so attached to your idea of detachment. So it's funny where all we can get trapped, just like you were sharing. It's really funny. And that's why Kabir would say that as long as I have breath in the body, I have to be vigilant. Because the moment we lose vigilance, we fall in some or the other trap. And Mother says that the spiritual traps are even more dangerous because we don't even realize the trap. Yeah. So
But,
good to be aware.
but with a self-realized person, this is what I'm confused. Will they, once they are established in the formless, once their locus of identity is shifted to the formless, do they have to still remain vigilant? Can they slip back into Maya? Because I thought once it's seen, that then
Once somebody had asked
yeah.
somebody had asked this question from Jetsunma again, whom we were listening to, that what after I stabilize myself as awareness? That's what he was asking. That okay, I'm stabilizing myself as an awareness. Now, what is the next step? That's what he asked. And what she shared, to me it resonated very strongly. Even now it resonates. She shared that no, there may be several stages of realizations, but no, not knowing oneself as awareness, you can never step back from it. So that's a moment to moment vigilance that is required. And that is why, for example, from Kabir we hear that as long as I have breath in the body, the sadhak, so long he has to remain vigilant, because the ego comes up and strikes at any point. And that's why many a times we see in many gurus or masters, very people follow them widely, they get stuck at some or the other levels, and then they really like go down really deep down. So this getting stuck at any level can happen to anyone, while the divine is infinite, so the journey is also infinite. So there is no ultimate ending of that, since the divine is infinite. And Sri Aurobindo, Mother, or other masters who had true, if we can say true realizations, they say that there is no end to this journey. Like it goes on and on and on and on.
So for a self-realized person, the ego can still come back and rear its ugly head.
Self-realized again, because there are levels
achieving
of yeah. The
mukti
slipping
means freedom, doesn't it?
Yeah, the slipping can happen at any step. That is what to me it appears, since we also have to travel the path.
No, it's all right. It's
But it
interesting,
appears,
that counters what I've been told by other people. So it's very interesting to see this diversity of opinion. I'd probably have to investigate myself, but
yes.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, anything else? Anyone, any reflection to share? Yes, Sherry.
Hello.
Yeah, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
Monica. So I just want to share this like a short experience that I had recently. When I couldn't do my morning daily routine, the daily prayer and all. So I was getting very irritated while doing my other, the morning works, like getting my baby ready for school and other household stuffs. So it kept me very, it made me feel very uncomfortable and rigid and of course unhappy. So it happened for many days, and just a few days back, I realized that I was too much attached or grasping too much to the thought that I'm not being able to do my daily prayer, and that is affecting my other, duties or my other other things in line for the day. So the moment I realized that, I let go of the thought that it is not so important for me to get my prayer done right now. I can do that later as well. So the moment that a little bit of awareness came, I could feel that I was at much ease with myself and I could carry on my other duties properly. So just the very thought of, grasping too much, even to do the daily prayer that we can't, it can really make us feel very uncomfortable, unhappy, and make others around us also very, uncomfortable. It can create that a very tight space, where we don't breathe ourselves properly and don't let others also breathe properly. So yeah, that's just what I experienced recently.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, yeah. So I think that's a beautiful example of becoming conscious of this clingy self, that even prayer
Yes,
it can cling to.
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, beautiful. And there is, as you shared, the moment you become conscious of it, oh my God, what am I doing? The moment we
Yes,
can step, let go of the burden of our
yes,
shoulders.
yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pratima, you had unmuted earlier. Would you like to share anything now? Or anyone
Yeah,
else?
actually,
Yeah. Mhm.
I actually read the same thing in Ashtavakra Gita, so I wanted to just share that as well. That yes, the path of spirituality and attachment to it, that I have to reach that, I have to do that, also is like a, it says asakti, which is again an attachment. So that was the same thing, and. What is just shared about the prayer right now, I think I can totally resonate with it because it really had been disturbing me as well. And I could understand from the last conversation that I had with you that we need to check the roots also, like where it is coming from. Like when I'm feeling bad about it, maybe there is a there is a notion about it. Probably it may be wrong if I leave the, ritual or something like that. So I think we need to check the roots. The last conversation I had with you, so that is really helping. Thank you for that. And this is what I wanted to share. Thanks.
Yeah. So, one thing which comes, especially in terms of Buddhist practices, is that they make us aware, somehow their teachings are like they make us aware that death can strike at any moment. And so I remember this story of one nun who was practicing. She was doing her daily meditation, and immediately she heard some noises from outside, and she immediately, the mind went there. So the mind was maybe with the breath, and the mind went outside. And then she found herself talking like, how long are they going to talk like that, and how would I be able to do my practice? This is not going. And suddenly she became conscious of this inner talk that was happening, and she said, oh my God, I don't even know whether I have these last 5 minutes or not. Maybe I'm not there anymore after these 5 minutes. So why am I wasting when are they going to stop or whatever. So I think this is something, at least in whatever stages we are, I feel that this ability to get conscious of the mind scattering away, the immediately becoming conscious, oh my god, I am again lost in the forest of thought, bringing it back to the simplicity of the present moment, resting it in the body. I think this is a continuous practice. At least I can't see for myself that I can now relax and not do the practice. So it's like an inward practice which is parallelly as I'm doing my daily stuff, sleeping, not sleeping, whatever is going on. Parallelly, this habit is also being inculcated to tame, basically, to tame the scattered away and restless mind. This is the most simple thing that we can practice. It doesn't require much effort. So parallelly, as we are engaged in the day-to-day activities, just noticing where the mind goes back in the forest trail again, forest of thoughts. And when we see that, bring it back again to the present moment. And it really keeps the things very, very simple. Very simple. Doesn't complicate the life unnecessarily. And who knows whether I have the next moment or not. I may have, as in Isha Upanishad, they shares that doing verily these works of the divine, one may wish to continue for 100 years. And it's not that we have to wish that I don't know when I am going to be maybe I die soon, I have a very short life, so we don't have to contemplate like that. I may live for 100 more years to do the right work, to do the divine work. And yet we know parallelly that since anything can happen any moment, can I right now take care of the mind space and the inner space right now? Because that is in my hands. That is what I can do, practice. And why practice? Because the mind is habituated to get lost in the old patterns, old thoughts. So this person says something and immediately a parallel commentary starts. So become conscious of that commentary, not needed now, bringing the mind to the breath. How simple can a practice be? Keeping it rested so that whatever decisions arise, they are arising from this rested mind. For example, the prayer case, there also you see that parallel commentary about the about me not being able to do the prayer is going on, and I'm believing in that commentary. And suddenly I realized, oh my god, I don't have to believe in that commentary. I can be in the here and now, even if I'm not able to do the prayers. So I think also letting go, when we were talking of, so letting go of the grip over our beliefs and ideas of the mind that we have. We don't have to take our thoughts so seriously. We can let them go. Lose the grip over them. So again, for me, that would be a constant inward practice.
True, true.
Okay, so any last comments, any reflections, anyone? Anything to share before we end? All right. So thank you everyone, and appreciate everyone taking out time to reflect upon these things, and wishing everyone a continuing happy practice. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are you there, Parvinder ji?